of the House Rules.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I've just handed Rep. McNamara a document that summarizes some things that I won't have time to talk about. I hear consensus. I'm Phil West. I was the director of Common Cause for 18 years and have been retired for 12. I live in Pawtucket.
Button up, please. I need to figure out how to justify.
We ought to tell everybody just not to touch the button. Don't touch the button. Okay. I'm speaking for myself. I want to affirm the good faith that I've seen in working with Speaker Maniello over several important issues. And I'm not in any way challenging him by this, but I am saying that there are some specific things in these rules that are like unexploded ordinances that will could blow up in your face. And I want to ask you to change them. I hear tonight, and I've given you some examples of ways that the rules have been abused in past administrations, and these have caused real problems. And I'm not going to talk about that in detail, but I've seen it again and again when I was here for Common Cause. I hear a consensus tonight in the witnesses who have spoken to you that they want bills with popular support to get a vote on the floor. First thing. Second thing, they don't want bad bills that are insider dealing or special pleadings for special interests to get a vote. And I think that you can deal with those in a couple of ways that have been recommended. First, I urge you to require the notion of a 2/3 vote for any substantive sub-A. And I would add, in response to the Republicans' comments, let's do what was discussed earlier. Let's say both a 2/3 vote of the members and the consent of the majority and minority leaders to suspend the rules. Let's make it a public process. Second, I think it's tremendously important that we have the sub-As out in public for a sufficient amount of time. And the documents I've given you give you some samples of ways that has not happened in the past, sometimes with devastating consequences. And I could give you many examples, but I really want to focus on the discharge petition. The last time it was done, as far as I understand, in this building was by Representative Nick Gorham in the separation of powers struggle in 2002. And since that time, on page 14, Rule 20 has been significantly enlarged. And I want to point out that on page 20, lines 15 to 25 seem designed to intimidate representatives who might want to try a discharge petition and to prevent them from doing it. And you should not allow that. This whole section from 16 really, to the end of that, to 25, should be struck. It is an invitation to intimidate any rep who would sign for it or any rep who would try to distribute it. And I've seen representatives intimidated for pushing separation of powers, for pushing redistricting, fair redistricting, and so on. So these are important issues that you need to address. I'll say one final thing, if I may, Mr. Chairman. And that is the danger of bad bills that used to get swept out of committee when I started here in the late 80s. Special pension bills that produced enormous fiscal obligations for the state. And they came out late in the session as reward to special people. And the leadership was complicit in that. And you ought to say, we're not going to allow that. And the way not to allow it is to require sub-As, when they're substantive, to have the kind of examination that's been discussed tonight. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. West. Any questions of the gentleman? Representative Blueberry.
Hey, we talked about this earlier with one of the other witnesses, the interplay between rule suspension, which I would advocate is sometimes necessary just to end the session, and the sub-A issue. Would you agree, though, that if there's been a bill that's been through committee, it's been vetted, the public knows about it, and it happens to go from committee to the floor one day without any substantive changes, that's not really a problem, maybe not the ideal situation? That's not the heart of the problem, right? It's the sub-As.
The problem is when it's a sub-A that appears in committee at the last minute, and then it's approved by the committee, and comes out to the floor with virtually no notice. I've given you an example in the document I gave you. It's not a sub-A bill, but a bill by Representative Anderson from 2002 that got virtually no hearing, came out at the last minute, and passed the House, and because of pressure, arm twisting from the House to the Senate, actually passed the Senate, and then the Senate didn't transmit it to the governor. The other one, though, that is the last one on that page, 5477, that was an obvious disclosure law proposed by Representative Fox in 2004 and then gutted by him in 2005. And that bill sat in committee throughout the whole session with only what you see there as Section E, a very simple section. We opposed it. We tried to negotiate through the session. The Finance Committee at the last minute passed out the sub-A and put it on the floor. Nobody had a chance to read it. Not even the sponsors understood it. And it was a dangerous bill. It would have destroyed this reporting requirement, which has stood since that day to require any representative, any public official to disclose anything over $250 in value given to any public official. But that bill was almost completely gutted.
Right, that's exactly the point. I agree with you, and I can think of other examples. All I'm saying is if you were going to make one change that everybody should get on board, wouldn't it be to find some way to hold the sub-A's, as I said earlier, not all of them, just the ones like that. And that's why I suggested the 1/3 vote of a committee, which would give enough people who are not necessarily entitled to should be building blocks. I don't want to advocate or repeat things, but even based on your testimony, to me, that's the most important reform, not rule suspension 2/3. A lot of things we can talk about, but I would zero in, and I would ask everybody else, I think we should zero in on those sub-A issues.
I think there are several kinds of mechanisms, that's one that would work.
Any other questions? Representative, Chairman McNamara.
Mr. West, welcome back. We've spent some real quality time in these hearing rooms over the years, and I enjoyed your book, and I enjoyed watching you write it as you sat in many of those late-night committee hearings at the State House. Mr. West, revisiting the separation of power, the petitions. I've seen these work, both systems, on the desk and walking around. So the emphasis is going back, and I don't see it as a major change, having someone walk it around, but let's get back and look at the last time a petition was walked around the floor. My concern is this. When I have individuals co-sponsor legislation, I will ask them to co-sponsor on the House floor. And I do it because I believe it is the proper place for a representative to co-sponsor and to sign legislation. It's part of the public process. When we have had discharge petitions, very often it takes more than one day. So that petition, I have a petition to, let's say we had a state advertiser bill that I wanted to discharge from the committee. I got 15 votes one day. Then I take that bill back to my office or lock it in my desk maybe. Do you think it's proper for any representative to sign a discharge petition any place but other than the House floor? My concern is the dynamics can change when that petition is in one of the small offices that we have with maybe 2 or 3 reps sitting around who are in favor of it or maybe opposed to a certain issue. That would be a concern. Do you have any feelings on that, the way that petition, the conduct that should be taken in handling that petition, and where that petition should stay if it's a continued multi-day process, which traditionally it has been?
I agree with you, Representative. It would be a multi-day process. It doesn't happen easily. And people get intimidated. And this process, which was put in after the effort to get separation of powers, simply to get a vote on the floor. Year after year after year, and you were here and you remember, separation of powers was stifled in committee without a vote. Then it was stifled, couldn't get it out onto the floor. And so Nick Gorham then went to the process of discharge. What happened was that individuals who signed the discharge petition were intimidated, and we all know the kind of intimidation that can occur because the speaker can, and that's why there's this press of business at the end of the session, because the speaker or someone representing him can say, look, Representative, you signed that discharge petition. I think you should scratch your name off it. Otherwise, this bill that you really want is not going to pass. And we both know that happens. That kind of pressure. I've seen people sponsor, I won't name names, I could, redistricting legislation, and they were pressured to take their names off it. Because if the leadership can prevent a bill that would enforce reform from one, being introduced, or two, being heard in committee, or three, getting a vote on the floor, any of those things work to kill a reform that might shake the power structure.
So specifically, do you think that those discharge positions, we should have a House rule that states discharge petitions must be kept in the custody of the House, within the House chamber, and every representative that signs it should do so on the House floor to eliminate the possibility of those office meetings and I think the public would certainly like to see, if they sign a discharge petition, it's done publicly on the House floor, not in the corridors, not in any office, not any strong arm type situation.
I think you can run off the road on either side. And one of the problems is that if representatives' signatures and district numbers are not good enough, no matter where they sign it, then we risk making the process almost impossible. Because we all know, everybody in this room knows, the pressure that the leadership can bring to bear to stop getting to that 38. All the discharge petition does is say, we want a debate, floor debate, and a public vote on this matter. And sometimes the leadership, as an earlier witness said, wants to protect the members from that vote. We saw that with separation of powers year after year after year after year, that the leadership that was then in charge said, this is not Rhode Island's way, we are going to fight it to the death. You will never get separation of powers. I've been through that battle. And that's what I'm saying, the discharge petition should be for those tough issues, but the representative signature and district number should be sufficient, I believe, no matter where they get it. Because I know the pressure that comes the other way.
So you're saying that would be all right with you if they took it to an office and a representative signed it in an office in some corner of the state house? It's all right?
I don't care. I mean, I think if you're a representative and you sign a discharge petition to go against the leadership, which is a scary thing, you sign something that you're going to go against the leadership, because you know the leadership wants this bill killed, and then no matter where you sign it, you're going to be in trouble.
I like the idea of keeping the whole process public and having a place where people can witness signatures in a public venue. But we'll disagree on that, and thank you again for your advocacy over the years, Mr. West.